What challenges did you face navigating the tech industry as a woman of color? Because you and I both know that it's, predominantly, white industry, as is mine in estate planning. But I'd be curious to know, what some of your challenges were.
So I'd say one of the main challenges is always having to justify being in the room or being in the position, and that I'm not there to just check a box. Um, I always had to fight for that promotion, right? When I saw some of my white counterparts just get walked into it and not being told the rules of the game, to where I saw, executives take some of my white coworkers, men, and it's like, let me take you under my wing. Let me take you to this happy hour. Let me tell you what just happened in that meeting. Or going into a meeting and everyone else had a pre-meeting and I'm kind of in the dark, right? And then as I moved up the ladder, it didn't get any easier, because then while I had already proved myself, and here I am, I'm an executive and accomplished at that, I was always having to justify my decisions or my strategic plans as it came, when it came to what we wanted to do for a product, what I wanted to maybe to do for my team. Those I always had to justify it, and that was a huge challenge for me, because what it did was it put me in a perpetual state of, oh, I got to validate myself again. I got to validate myself again in this meeting. And that's hard to carry every day going into, some top high profile meetings. I mean, I'm talking about CEO, C-suite in there all the time,
Right.
and always having to justify yourself. So it's like you're at a heightened state, because you can get caught off guard with a question or anything else, but that your white men coworkers don't have to deal with. They present something and it's just accepted as law or accepted as truth. And yet here I am having to spend 15, 20 minutes justifying my course of action. And that got very frustrating. And so that was a huge challenge.
Did that change at all? Or did it get worse the higher that you went, or the more advanced you went in your career, or did it stay pretty much the same and it was like, okay, here we go again?
It pretty
at
much
each
was, here
level.
we go again. I just think that the stakes were higher because I was higher, but it was the same. It was like, okay, I've seen this before. I know what I got to do. Like, or just I'm prepared for it. Right. So I'm prepared for it. So how I tried to navigate around it was to always answer the question before it's even asked. So, and that's what I trained my team to do. So whenever I would go in and, for example, say that it was a new feature that I was going to be deploying or proposing for one of my software applications, I'd say, here's the feature as it exists today. Here's the feature that we want to change it to. This is what our user base, when we tested it, this is how they responded to it. And here are projections based on what we think, this change will do positively for the company and for the application, right? And now people would think, oh, everyone has to do that. Yeah, typically, but the difference is Tom will go in and say, hey, I want to make this change. And it's like, okay, you can make that change. No questions on why. Did you test it? Who's going to use it? Did you talk to the business side on this, or this was a tech decision? But yet when I go in, I get all those questions and more. And that's the difference. And so I said, let me just kill it before it even starts by answering those questions before it's even asked.
So it's like it's a double-edged sword, because you've got to be, it sounds like to me that you've got to be more prepared than anybody else in the room, which is a double-edged sword because it's quite stressful and you've got to anticipate every single question, but it makes you that much more of a, may I say, a badass, like
Absolutely.
in the corporate setting.